So we're in Cobalt here. Train tracks. This is the old train station. The old Cobalt train station. Cobalt. Gorgeous though, man. It's really nice. Love the architecture. Ontario Northland Railway. Not much going on here now, but this place was a big town back in the day. There's only 1,500 people here now. So we're gonna go take a look at the mining museum, guys. Learn a bit more about silver mining, kind of the ores and the minerals and everything going on here. That's the train. That's what it looked like back in the day, guys. Everybody standing on the platform, trains coming and going, all the luggage. It was a bustling metropolis back in the day, and here it is today. This railway station was built in 1905 and expanded in 1906 and 08. A final expansion was started in 1909 and completed in 1910. The silver mines were a magnet for thousands of people and tons of supplies, most of which passed through this train station. Going south at the same time were thousands of silver bars, reaching a peak in 1910 to 11 of close to 60 million troy ounces. The old train station, so you saw that picture. It's all gone now, guys. There's weeds. Once it dries up, that's it. This is all tailings and stuff. That was actually not initially there. That's been built at a tailings, that little park there. That's all tailings. So let's go up and take a look. The T&NO Railway. In 1903, the Temiskaming and Northern Ontario Railway were working hard to complete the line between North Bay and the farming communities of New Liskeard and Haileybury. The Klondike rush was over, and many bushmen were keen to discover the next rich mineral find. The name Cobalt was given to a camp by provincial geologist Willett G. Miller. He traveled to the region to verify the reports of Prospector. Dr. Miller realized that a major mining boom was in the offering. He christened the town with the simple sign, Cobalt Station. And then it began. It kind of launched the Northern Ontario thing here. Sinking bucket. This sinking bucket was initially used to mine vertical openings or shafts that were used to access the ore bodies at depths. These buckets were used to hoist the waste rock after it had been blasted and also to hoist the water. All the materials required of the shaft were also transported. The hoisting rope was attached to the bale, the steel loop or chain attached to the bucket. By means of a hook, the bucket was lifted to the surface. Many accidents have occurred over the years with buckets. Men have fallen out, rocks have fallen out, and gear has also fallen out of them when it was going up or down. In shaft sinking, there is no protection at all in the shaft from falling objects. This was particularly true in the early Cobalt shafts. The rock that was hoisted from these buckets was shoveled at the bottom of the shaft by 3 or 4 miners who worked in arduous conditions with dripping water and the possibility of digging into unexploded dynamite. The mine hoist, ooh, this is a nice one. Compressed air. Compressed air comes in here, moves the piston. This flywheel here, this crank moves the flywheel, spins the gears, rotates the drum. That's cool though, it's a cool design. There's a manifold here. You can see where the wire has been digging into the metal. The mine hoist was the connection between the surface and the underground and provided the power to raise and lower the conveyances in the shafts. In the very early days of Cobalt, the hoist consisted of a hand-powered windlass, similar to the type of windlass on water wells. Very quickly, horsepower took over and the hoist was known as the horsewhim. These were soon replaced by hoists powered by steam or compressed air. Compressed air hoists were common in Cobalt because of the ready supply of cheap compressed air from the Ragged Chutes hydropneumatics plant on the Montreal River. Eventually, compressed air hoists fell out of favor and were replaced by electric hoists. Oh, that's the bucket elevator. We saw that in Kirkland Lake, but that's what it looks like with a bucket in it. The one in Kirkland Lake didn't have a bucket in it. Look at the leaf springs for suspension up there. The cage. In addition, cages were fitted with safety dogs jammed into timber guides if the hoisting rope ever broke, preventing the cage from falling down the shaft. Slusher and scraper. The slusher hoist was used to move the broken rock in the underground mining areas called stopes. The ore was blasted and the scraper was pulled to move the ore so that more drilling could be done. In the early 1900s, this would have been done with a shovel. The invention of the scraper and slusher meant that material could be moved easily, horizontally, and this in turn led to the development of different stopping or mining methods and increases in efficiency. And then this is the shield, guys. This is where they're mining down in. But yeah, you can see there's silver in here. Tripod drill, we've seen those before. Pretty badass though, especially drilling into the shield. It's hard rock. We got the train, side dump cars, mucking machine, overshoot loader. So that's the actual mucking machine. And then these are the dumping buckets. Willett Green Miller, the first provincial geologist of Ontario. To Cobalt, he gave its name and a place among the great mining camps of the world. He read the secret of the rocks and opened up a portal for the outpouring of the wonderful riches. His monument is the New Ontario. Cobalt mining camp. About 900 yards southwest of here, on August 7th, 1903, two lumbermen seeking timber for the railroad ties made the initial discovery of the Cobalt silver camp. Named for its discoverers, the McKinley-Dura mine opened from 1904 to 1927. Coleman Township became the scene of the most intensive prospecting. Though it was once boasted over 100 producing mines, the fortunes of the camp waned after 1920, owing to sharply reduced silver prices. In its first 60 years, the Cobalt camp produced over 420 million ounces of silver, valued at some $264 million. Silver has been an important mineral producer for Canada's economy ever since the cobalt boom, which followed the discovery of rich veins of the metal near here in 1903. Although the production of cobalt silver mines began to decline in the 1920s, new sources were developed principally in lead and zinc mines of British Columbia and Ontario, which have maintained Canada's position in the world as a leading supplier of silver. The cobalt boom was also important as a stimulus to future mining development in the Canadian Shield and as an influence to the government mining policy. It's really cool, actually. That's super cool. So, this gives you a general idea of the area. So, town of Cobalt. And then open cut veins, mine site, milling facility, headframe, tailings, National Historic Boundary. So this whole area is a National Historic Site. And then you can see tailings, 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 tailings. There's a milling facility here, milling facility here, milling facility here, milling facility here, milling facility here. The open cut veins, the X's, right? You're just reading the legend. Some of these mine shafts go right under the people's houses in the town. Like people's houses were caving in and stuff because there'd be mine shafts underneath their houses. Because if you look, the town of Cobalt is right here, right? And look, in the town itself, there's mines underneath the town. Cobalt played a decisive role in the evolution of hard rock mining in Canada for processing ore on site. Cobalt's former prosperity is still visible in the substantial commercial and financial buildings dominating the town center. Ultimately, the operations of Cobalt established a cadre of mining professionals and a pool of capital, which sparked further mining exploration and proved invaluable in the development of large-scale gold and copper mining in Quebec and Ontario. This was the beginning, guys. This is where it all started. And biggest silver mining in the world. So we're in the Cobalt Museum now. The Silver Rush. Geology textbook. That's cool. Fossils. Old school cameras. Who doesn't like that? An old phonograph. Nipissing Mine Assay Office, 1914. Assaying was a process to determine the quality of the silver. This is all courtesy of the Cobalt Mining Museum, guys, too. So this is the product. You can see the silver ores. Refined silver. Silver bullion assay. Leaf silver. Plate silver and diabase. Okay, the geologic treasures. Sounds like a Sasquatch section, eh? So, all these geodes and minerals, and the Temiskaming and Hudson's Bay Mining Company Limited. That's a cool safe. They got a telegraph, switchboard here, telephone switchboard here. This is what the operator was. When you hear about the operator for the telephone, they had to operate the switchboard. Direct calls. Kind of changed with technology, but it was like that back in the day. Pictures of some of the miners here. Basalt, honey onyx, travertine, crocite. Oh, that's a punch clock for the mine. That's a cool picture. Battery charging, so you can see the old battery packs for their lights. Charging stations. Milken Lake Uranium Mines Limited signal code. That was the light that would go on the hat. Uranium, Elliott Lake. Uranium, Elliott Lake. Yeah, we're going to go up there. Silver ore, Uranium City. Copper, zinc ore. Copper ore. Copper ore. Copper ore. Sponge nickel. That's cool. Sponge nickel. High-grade chalcopyrite copper ore. Nickel. 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 40% zinc. Michigan Pure Copper. High-grade silver cores. Silver Miller Mines Limited. All cobalt silver. Plate silver in diabase. Silver calcite. Silver nugget. The cobalt fire that devastated the town. Level 75 homes and buildings in cobalt. That was a bad day for the town. But it didn't break the town, though. The town's still here. Bismuth, cobalt with native silver in it. That's what cobalt and silver looks like. Plate silver, Bailey Mine, Cobalt, Ontario. Cobalt, a lot of this stuff is from Cobalt. Chalcopyrite, Temagami Mines, Temagami. Tech Corp, Tech, no, sound familiar? Tech, huge corporation involved in lots of different work. Copper in Pebble Conglomerate, 300 level. This shows you all the different ores from different levels. 500 level, 406 vein, high grade silver, 401 vein, 400 level, cobalt bloom, calcite. All the old mines, guys. Tons. Temiskaming and Hudson's Bay Company Mining. Nipissing Mines Company. This is just all tons of like still ores. Gold ore specimen, vein number 1, 5,450 level. Selenite, gypsum, gold ore, chalcopyrite, white gold. Kerr Addison Gold Mines, Virginia Town. We were just up there. 420 vein, wall rock, enrichment plate. High grade silver. The province of Ontario, Department of Mines. Plan showing mine workings under Cart and Pedersen Lakes, Cobalt District, Temiskaming, Ontario. Fluorescent minerals. Really cool, guys. Fluorescent minerals are super cool. All the different colors. Fluorescence is the emission of light from an irradiated substance by invisible rays such as ultraviolet or X-ray. It is the property of certain substances such as these minerals to absorb radiation of a particular wavelength and to emit it as light of a different, usually greater wavelength. On absorbing higher energy, invisible radiation electrons become excited and they are forced out into wider orbits from the nuclei of their atoms, usually almost return instantaneously to their normal ground state. The energy is in the form of light with specific wavelength and color. Fluorescence is therefore governed by the chemical composition and atomic structure. Prospector's Handbook. By the fall of 1905, 600 prospecting licenses had been issued for Cobalt area. 2 years later, 6,747 new licenses were issued, along with 2,900 renewals. Refined cobalt metal. Deloro smelter. Oh yeah, the Deloro smelter. Deloro, Ontario. That's an ingot mold. Alrighty guys, so we're just driving through the town of Cobalt. You can see there the tower, Cobalt. It's a cool little town. It's super vibey here. We really done a really good job preserving all the history and keeping everything together. We're gonna do the mining tour. So you can get a tour guide to take you inside and stuff. We're just gonna do the outside tours. We're just gonna do the self-guided tour. It's like an auto tour route. We've got a book here and it kind of tells you where everything is. I got my phone too. Google kind of shows you. So there'll be tailings piles here, guys. This is where you need to be super careful if you're walking around. If you're gonna go for a walk here, like I said, go with somebody, tell somebody where you're going, because there's all these mine shafts and stuff that aren't marked and they're just kind of there. And if your foot happens to be on one of them, then it's going to be a really bad day for you. Colonial Mine Site, Silver Heritage Trail. Site 16, yep, perfect. Yeah, I think you just park here kind of a thing. Go through the gate. Just a couple signs and a big pile of tailings. Typical Sasquatch, nothing there. But the signs are useful. The signs tell a really cool story, so. Just on the Silver Heritage Trail here, yeah, you can see foundation there. There's a foundation up there you can see. Just on the Silver Heritage Trail here in Ontario, Cobalt, Ontario. Right on the shield here. And The smooth rock outcrop that you're standing on is a result of the most recent ice age, 25,000 to 10,000 years ago. The continental glacier, 7,000 of feet in thickness and loaded with boulders and debris, crept slowly over this area, scouring the exposed rock surfaces. The surface of this outcrop shows sheared boulders and rock fragments, clasts of lower conglomerate layer of the Coleman series of sediments, which belong to the Huronian period some 2.2 billion years ago. The conglomerate formation was formed from the ablation or melting of the Huronian age glacier, which dumped many layers of debris, clasts onto the basement volcanic rocks of the Keewatin age. 3.5 billion years old. These lavas and tuffs are approximately 100 feet below this outcrop. As you tour the exposed outcrops in this area, you will discover features such as glacial striations or scratches and chatter marks, both of which indicate the direction and movement of the glacier. This geological site is unique in that it shows the results of two major continental glaciers, the Huronian age Coleman conglomerate and the recently scoured surface of this outcrop, both of which occurred more than 2 billion years apart. You can see scarred, right, from the landscape. It's old rock, man. Very, very, very old rock.
Site 7.
Oh, cart. There we go. Cart Lake Tailings, site number 5. Heritage Trail, Silver Heritage Trail. It's around Cobalt. You're basically driving around the lake that is near Cobalt. You're driving around it, exploring what's left of the silver mines and stuff and such. You are here. Seneca Superior Gould, number 1 shaft, 100-foot level. Number 2 shaft. It shows you all the stuff. In front of you is what remains of Cart Lake. Silverfields Mining Corp. From 1965 to 1983 operated a mill at the former Savage mine site a short distance southeast of Cart Lake and disposed of their mill tailings into the lake, filling a good portion of it. It is estimated that the lake currently contains about 1.2 million tons of tailings. Tailings is a term for finely ground up rock that has most of the mineral values removed. In the distance can be seen the headframe of the provincial number 2 shaft. Silver was discovered there in 1906 and in 1908. A 70-foot deep shaft was sunk by the province of Ontario, the first and only mine owned and operated by the province. The mine was privatized in 1909 when it was sold to the Cobalt Provincial Mining Company. However, a headframe was not constructed until 1922 when serious development work was started. The mine was operated intermittently by various companies and individuals until 1968 and produced a total of approximately 300,000 ounces of silver. Veins of silver were mined under Cart Lake by the Seneca Superior Silver Mining Company and Gould Consolidated Mines from 1912 to 1916. Together they produced 5.6 million ounces of silver. Black flies, again, man. Go away. We are not friends. Black flies here. Walking in the bush in Ontario. Walking in the bush in Ontario. Pretty hilly here though. Oh, this is not nice to drive on. Well, that's not happening. Look at this road, man. If you want to call it a road. Nipissing Hill Lookout.
A rugged way of thing here too.
Yeah, exactly.
Head northeast toward Nipissing Road.
Park anywhere. Site number 7, Nipissing Hill Lookout. Just doing the Silver Heritage Trail here. We got some ruins. You can see Cobalt. That's the town below Cobalt, Ontario. Let's check these ruins out. Oh yeah. Seen better days. Thick though. Yeah, seen much better days. Look at that size of that rebar. You can see the old remnants of everything. Locally, silver and cobalt were found in vertical veins that came to bedrock surface but were buried under overburden. In the early days, in order to find them, they either systematically dug up through the overburden by hand or used high pressure water to blast it off. When they found a rich vein, they mined it as deep as it was practical, leaving the open cuts like this one you see beside you. To go deeper, they sunk shafts. Later, drilling became popular and faster method to explore veins. So they just washed all this out to expose everything, and then they just mined it. And then Nipissing Hill. Nipissing Hill high-grade mill. So that was the mill foundation we saw. Cobalt Lake Mine. So this is the mill, the old foundations. We were on Nipissing Hill. Look out up there. We were just up there. Now we're on this side. Work carts, the old mill foundations. Oh, the old winch. Cool. Down there, the winches are down there. Cobalt. This is the Helen's Mill foundation, the stamp mill. Crushing the ore up. Cobalt Lake Mine and Helen's Mill. The Cobalt Lake Mining Company was granted ownership of land under Cobalt Lake by the Ontario government in 1906. Access to the land was gained through the shaft around the southern part of the lake. Exploration had to be done by tunneling under the lake. In 1911, the company decided to build a mill on this site as they had found enough silver ore to warrant the cost of a mill. In 1914, Mining Corporation of Canada took over ownership, and by 1917, when the ore finally ran out, the lake had produced close to 7 million troy ounces. Alrighty guys, so we're coming to the end of this one. I think I'm probably gonna close it out here because we're starting to head into the land of the populated, and well, that doesn't really work all that well for South Prospector. So anyways guys, we're on the Highway 17 eastbound. I hope you enjoyed the trip. We traveled in massive loop, basically, Trans-Canada, almost all the way. We took a couple little detours, took some side roads. Cobalt was really cool. And that's gonna be it for me. So like and subscribe to the channel, hit the bell icon to get notified. Sasquatch Prospector out.